Everyone, welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, joined by Alex and Paul today. We're going to be going over Everton's 1-1 draw with Brighton and Hove Albion on Saturday. Alex, come to you first. I want to talk about the lineup a little bit. There's a couple of changes. Obviously, Amadou Onana picked up an injury and he was replaced with a Ghana guy. And also Ashley Young coming in for Nathan Patterson. What did you make of that?
Well, I think obviously probably Ashley Young probably goes down as the biggest talking point, really. I think, there was maybe a lot of people who didn't really want him to come straight back into the side. Obviously, he played against Burnley in the week, but I think a lot of people were expecting that after Patterson had, done pretty well at West Ham with Young suspended, that he'd retain the place in the league. So I thought Young actually had a pretty good game against Brighton, all told, to be honest, and I think a lot of the criticism that he ended up getting was kind of unwarranted, really. Obviously people saying maybe about the goal, people saying he maybe should have reacted better to it, but I think he's anticipating the cross more than anything, and it's just unlucky that it deflects off me. I don't know. You guys might disagree. I'm not sure, but like I said, that was probably the main talking point. And then in terms of Amadou and Onana being absent, of course, it's an unforced error. A little light in midfield options now, which is a bit of a worry. But thought Ganagay did okay. But maybe a suggestion that if we had Onana in that match, we might have held on for the win. Who knows?
Paul, what did you make of it? Because obviously, as Alex said, the Onana one was we didn't have a choice. We had to change him out. Personally, I think Jessica played okay in places. You could tell we missed Onana a little bit. But mainly the Ashley Young one, because people will remember him for that own goal, and that did change the game, unfortunately. But I agree with Alex there. I think he plays an okay game. What do you think?
I don't blame Ashley Young for the equaliser. That's just rotten luck. That can happen to any player, and he did the right thing by sticking out his leg to try and block the cross. 19 times out of 20, that Matoma's ball hits Ashley Young and probably goes out for a corner. And when you're a fullback like that, what do we always say about fullbacks? Stop the cross however you can, especially if you're in front of the ball. And I don't blame him for what happened. It's just the way things are going for him at the minute, isn't it? That it's given fuel to the people who are desperate to see him out to the side, which I class myself as one of those a lot of the time. I don't think Ashley Young has done particularly well so far in the games that we've used him in. His overall performance, I thought he was okay for the first half, but I think the second half is, he really ran out of gas, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. He's 38 years old, I think, touching on 39. And he had played 90 minutes in the week in the Cup on Wednesday, so he gets a 2-day break, and he's being put out there to play another 90-minute game as well against the side like Brighton, who are going to have all of the ball, so that's going to involve a lot of running around and keeping tight to your man and getting dragged in and all over up and down the line. So I think Sean Dyche was a bit naive starting Ashley Young again so quickly after playing a full 90. And again, it goes back to the criticism of why did Patterson come out the side? Patterson did really well last couple of weeks. I appreciate that, and I understand that Sean Dyche is trying to protect Nathan Patterson, and I like managers who do that a lot of the time. I think young players need more protection, and they need managers to sort of manage the minutes a lot more effectively. Because sometimes if you just throw someone out there, a young player who's maybe got brittle confidence like Patterson has, and they just play game after game after game after game, yeah, they're getting the minutes in, but if they make one or two errors, and then that will play on their mind for weeks, and before long you've just got a player who's utterly shot of any self-belief, and a player with no self-belief is effectively useless. So I kind of understood why he wanted to use Ashley Young in the game. I just don't think he used them correctly, and I think his performance after the second half, I think he showed his age. He really did. But with Onana, does anyone know what specifically his injury is? I think I read that he hurt his back, something like that. Is it an injury where we're not going to see him for weeks now? Is he going to be back for Crystal Palace?
I think I read that it was like a groin strain or something like that. One of them where he kind of forced through it at Burnley, but Dyche didn't want to risk playing him in 3 games in quick succession like that. So I'd like to think that means he'll be back in on the weekend, but obviously you're never entirely sure with these things, really.
If he's fit, he should definitely come back, because that midfield three of him, Garner, and Decore, my head of mind blank then. Decore, Garner, and Onana. I think that's our midfield three for the foreseeable future. It's got to be our starting lineup. Gay has still got his uses. It's a thin squad that we've got. He's still a player who's got a lot of energy, Gay, and a lot of experience. And I know he's going to go the African Cup of Nations in a couple of months, and he's out of contract in the summer, I think, Gay. So the time is right to sort of slowly phase Gay out of the team, but he's still got to come in and play a big part where and when he's needed. But for me, Onana, as soon as he's fit, he's got to come back in. So I really hope that we see him at Crystal Palace. But yeah, as you boys touched on, Gay did absolutely fine. And if Onana isn't quite there, if he's maybe at 70-80%, then I wouldn't blame Dyche for not risking him again.
Yeah, it was a calf injury that he's confirmed that he had. So don't know the time frame on that, but I do feel like we did miss him. I said it during the game. I think he got a bit of praise after the match, Garner gave, but I think we did see that difference of, we had to dig in. We weren't really good at when we didn't really have any sort of counter attack and threat. And I think that Onana and his pace on the ball is really helpful with that. We'll start off with the first half. Of course, we took the lead on 7 minutes through Vitaly Mikolenko getting his first goal at Goodison. Alex, your words on the first half. Obviously, bit mix and match. Good to get that goal in the 7th minute, but obviously Brighton with the offside one. VAR coming up good for us in that one. So yeah, just your words on the first half.
Well, it's kind of a similar story, I'd say, to most of our home matches this season now. We're finally, we've always, especially at home, we've always started really strongly, I think, and looked to try and threaten. Obviously, we expected Brighton to have a lot of the ball, and it was still going to be a bit more maybe on the counter attack than against the likes of Fulham at Wolves or Bournemouth like we played previously. But like I say, always like looking to get the first goal in. I think we've recognised just how important that is for the team now. If we get the first goal, it usually settle things down for us a bit more, and the longer it goes on, the more Goodison seems to get restless and stuff, and perhaps puts too much pressure on the players or whatever. I don't know the ins and outs of it and that, but it's definitely something that we've recognised we need to do. And so getting that early goal, or quite fortunate, but at the same time, I think it's good movement from Mikolenko and good perseverance. Misses the first shot but reacts well to get the second one in, and it takes a lucky deflection. But that's the sort of luck that we we've kind of been missing out on for most of this season. So that was positive. And then obviously it looked for a moment like they'd equalised with the free kick, and thankfully that was all that for our side. But still a frustration that we just seemed clueless at defending particularly deep free kicks. We got punished by that twice against Luton, and it's just frustrating that that's something that still seems to be a concern when you'd think it's quite easy to sort out. Just a bit of practice on the training field for those sort of scenarios. And we were fortunate really that we weren't punished in that way. But otherwise, I think we set out to do exactly what we did in the first half: get an early lead, and then focus more on just making sure they don't get one back, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was really impressed with how we played in the first half. I think it's one of the best halves of football we've played in a while. We seemed a bit more on top of them in the first half. The second one, I'm not going to be too critical of them with the defending, because Evan Ferguson is standing far offside. And you'd like to think that maybe some of our defenders picked up on that, but I mean, it's a definite offside. I mean, immediately with Dunk coming in at the back post and putting it in, it looks like a good goal, but they were right to rule it out. I mean, Evan Ferguson is standing offside, so I wasn't too disappointed with it when I saw it afterwards. Paul, your words on the first half, because I certainly think I thought that we played quite well in the first half, but at half time there was a couple of murmurs from a couple of supporters I saw that were a bit unhappy that we went 2-0 up, or that we hadn't had more opportunities.
The first half, it was just as you mentioned, it was similar to a lot of the other home games, maybe apart from Luton, where the endeavour was there, but I thought we lacked a bit of sting up top, and whether that was because players like McNeil was getting isolated a lot because of the lack of possession, it was probably played into that, because the forward three we had, Calvert-Lewin is Calvert-Lewin. He's going to do Calvert-Lewin things when he's fit and able. He's going to get us high up the pitch. He's going to, chase after everything. He's going to look to get up close to defenders and get up and win headers and just be an all-round nuisance and lead the line. But I thought Jack Harrison was a bit below par. He didn't do anything like drastically bad. It wasn't like a really awful performance. It was just maybe I don't think he was quite as productive as he needed to be when he did get opportunities on the ball. McNeil is a different type of player. He's not blessed with terrific burst and pace when he can hit a team on the counter. McNeil is one of these players who, if we're not seeing a lot of the ball, then he can kind of, it looks like he can kind of end up on the periphery of a game. Now, he definitely pulls his weight defensively, which is what I think Dyche put him in there for, and why Dyche values him so much. And that's not a criticism with McNeil, by the way. There's world class players who it's very easy to forget that they're there when they go 7-8 minutes without touching the ball. I just thought up top we weren't quite as effective as I'd have liked us to have been, and we didn't create anywhere near the amount of chances that I think we possibly could have created, even though we were having to be really patient, and Brighton were, parking themselves in our half for a lot of it. I think they leave gaps, Brighton, to exploit. I would have liked to have seen us play a lot more balls over the top. I think we had one chance with Takore. We managed to get a breakaway and just couldn't finish it off. But yeah, the endeavour was there, and I could see the idea. I just think maybe one or two players had sort of below par days at the office, and that is one of the predominant reasons why we couldn't get more goals. But it's nothing to beat them up over. It's just something to kind of go, oh well, I hope it's better next week, sort of thing. The second half, I think we got tired and we run on fumes, but I didn't really agree with a lot of the criticism the manager was getting. To be honest, I thought it was really, really good, effective game management for a lot of the second half, because Brighton were having all of the ball, but was there ever a sort of heart and mouth moment? I mean, where you think, oh my God, they're in, they're going to... I think there was one moment where I think it was not Batoma, the lad on the other wing, is it...
Adingwa.
Yeah, maybe. It was down the right. It was down our right side, our left side, their right side. He broke away, and he just didn't get the ball at his feet quick enough at the byline to get a cross in, and he allowed Michaelenko to recover. That was the only time I thought where I went, oh my God, here's the goal type of moments. But I thought we managed the game effectively. I really did, and I understand the lack of substitutions, because for me, the shape of the team, especially the midfield, was what was allowing us to, for the most part, keep Brighton at arm's length. We didn't have any like-for-like subs. There was no Onana there. There was no... some people were saying, let's bring Danjuma on, but Danjuma's, a bit of a free-spirited player who wants to, get his head down and kind of carry the ball out wide and take a player on. And if he tries to do that and he loses the ball in and around the middle of the pitch, then Brighton are just going to get back in and put it back in the area, aren't they? So, yeah, I thought a lot of the criticism the manager got about the second half was mostly unwarranted. I understand why he was reluctant to make a sub, because I think if he'd have had any like-for-likes, any bona fide centre midfielders who were just going to get in there and, expend all their energy, I think he'd have done it, and we never, sadly.
Yeah, I think if we've got any Brighton supporters watching, because I know we do get supporters from other teams who like to come and view our videos and get our perception of it. I think Adingra on the right for Brighton, he had my heart in my mouth a couple of times. But like you said there, Paul, I don't think there was too many heart and mouth moments. I was nervous throughout the whole second half. Really nervous, but because I could feel it, he could score, but I don't think there was any moments that made me go.
That's just the Evertonian in you, isn't it? You've seen us, concede late and throw away results all the time, but it's more a mental thing rather than basing your opinion off the evidence in front of you, wasn't it? Or at least it was for me.
Yeah. I don't think. I mean, they had so much of the ball, but they had 80% of the ball last year when we beat them 5-1. So I don't think that's anything to go off when you play Brighton. Alex, what do you think?
Just quickly, mate, I'll just make this final point. One thing I think a lot of football supporters of all clubs don't necessarily take into account anymore is, and I think it's something they definitely should, you can control a game of football by not having the possession. All the great Mourinho sides have done it. There's Chelsea teams in the mid-2000s. Simeone is probably the best manager in the world at it right now with Atletico. You don't have to have the ball to be able to control what's going on the field, which I thought we were largely doing. So I thought it was a really bit of good game management. It was just a shame that we just couldn't quite, a fluky deflection and maybe just a bit of overall tiredness just couldn't quite get us over the line. But we were that close, for me, that close to getting an absolute belter of a result because, like you said, they levered us last season. It was a walk in the park for them, and they came away this time absolutely, going about rubbing the foreheads, lucky that they got a result, and that's progress for me.
Well, yeah, I think personally at half time, that's probably the most satisfied I've been with the team all season. Just for how they got that early goal, it seemed we didn't waste any time getting out there and getting the goal. We looked like we could have scored a couple more. It was the way they held them at arm's length, and I was really pleased with that. And like you said, we did control the game in the first half. I think we were certainly the top dog in the game. I think it was just a case of Brighton coming at us and trying to score, and maybe without the Ashley own goal, I don't think they probably could have. Alex, your words on the second half, because as Paul said there, the tiredness was setting in, that there wasn't really any like-for-like subs. Anything that you think we could have done differently, or just your sort of analysis of that second half, because it's split a bit of opinion, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has, and like I say, I think Paul's made some very good points there, and I was similar to both of you really at half time. I was just saying to my dad, like, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we've got these. I genuinely do. I didn't think there was nothing in the first half at all that like had me worried. There wasn't like a few like passes like they were like cutting through us or stuff like that. Like there maybe has been at times like earlier this season. We just seem so much more settled at the back, and we just seem to have a clear idea, like just how to defend basically, and how to stop teams creating chances. And I thought that carried on in the second half. Like I say, I think the more tired we got, maybe the more like you say, but at the same time, like you said, there weren't any like proper like heart in mouth moments. I didn't think at all, and I thought when the goal came, it was just like just really frustrating, really, because I didn't think it was at all warranted. And like I say, as they say, people will point to like the possession stats and say that Brighton had a lot of the ball, but as Paul said, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were battering us. Like you look at the chance creation, and if you look at it purely based on that, it looks like you'd think that Everton definitely deserves to win based on those stats. So, like I say, you can take the individual stats as much as you want, but at the same time, I thought that like, we were in control of the match at pretty much at all points, and even after they equalised, we had a few moments after that where it looked like we might even get another goal and still managed to get the win, which you'd think that equaliser would give Brighton momentum to go on and maybe our heads would drop, but I thought it was the exact opposite, which was really positive to see. So yeah, like the arguments will rumble on about that maybe should have made changes, maybe particularly you look at Young like being terrorised by Matoma down the left, perhaps like the fresh legs of Patterson might have made a difference, but it's all what about it, and at the same time, as you say, a draw is still a pretty good result against a team of Brighton's calibre. So yeah, like I say, nothing. It was just a frustrating way to concede 2 points, really, but still a decent result all told.
Yeah, I would have personally. I think Ashley only needed to come off with half an hour, 20 minutes left, because he was looking tired. We did need the fresh legs. We needed somebody maybe who could get us up the pitch a little bit. I thought he should have made the subs earlier. A lot of people on Twitter didn't agree. They thought what we were doing well, and we were unlucky to let that own goal in, which is it's a valid point to make. I don't think the players on the pitch will hang their heads in any shame for how they played over 90 minutes. I think we played very well over 90 minutes, and I've seen a lot of criticism for Dyche for sitting back on the ball and trying to keep hold of the 1-0 rather than going for a second one. But when you're playing a team like Brighton, they have got a lot of dangerous players, and they are very good at keeping hold of the ball. So I personally don't blame him for any of that. What do you think, Paul?
No, I've been a Dyche critic at times, well, a lot of the time, but I felt Saturday against Brighton was one of his best individual performances as manager of Everton. I really liked what we were doing in terms of just kind of containing Brighton and not overthinking it, which is what I think a lot of managers do when they're trying to, run the clock down. A lot of managers tend to make too many subs and just completely lose control of the game. When you're sitting on a slender lead and you're not confident that you've got the energy to kind of go forward and put the game to bed, then the best thing to do is just to keep your side organised and not disrupt them in any sort of way. And substitutions, particularly if you're not bringing on like for likes, can very easily do that. So one sub, obviously the Ashley Young one, I think was clear as day. He had to come off, but again, I kind of understand what Dyche is thinking in the sense that maybe Patterson again is young, maybe Patterson is not as Patterson hasn't got the experience that Young has. Maybe Patterson would have been a bag of nerves when he'd have come on. Maybe his confidence is still not quite where we want it to be. You don't know. Dyche knows that. He sees these players every day on the training pitch. But one sub I would have been interested to have seen. I'd have liked to have seen Beto brought on a bit earlier, but put up alongside Calvert-Lewin, or just off Calvert-Lewin, because his ball control's not amazing, but he's a big lad with a lot of energy. We saw when he came on against Burnley in the Cup that he just came on and he just ran himself into the floor in the 10 minutes, whatever he had. And that third goal we got, Young's goal, where he came purely because Beto just wouldn't give up the ghost, would he? He just chased after the ball. He wouldn't he just wouldn't give up. And I would have liked to have seen him come on to do a similar sort of thing in the Brighton game. Just put him off Calvert-Lewin, sort of in that that just over around the halfway line or just over the halfway line. It's another out ball for us, isn't it? Let us just clear the ball up to him. Hopefully let him take the ball down on his chest, and let's just see if any of the Brighton players who are tired as well. Let's just see if any of them can get it off him, sort of thing. And if Beto can get the ball out of his feet, hopefully he can get it through to Calvert-Lewin and put him through. So I'd have liked to have seen Beto brought on, not for Calvert-Lewin. I would have liked to see him put up just off Calvert-Lewin, because it would have been another player who can get us up the pitch, who's physical, who's got tons and tons of energy that he's bursting to use. And Brighton, I know they've got Lewis Dunk, but they're not an overly physical side, are they? There's a lot of small players there who are technical. So I think Beto could have come on, and if he'd have had any significant time, could have really put himself about him and hopefully bullied his way through the game. So yeah, there's one or two little nitpicky things, but overall, I think Dyche did really well in that game. And as I said, it was just a wicked deflection that could happen to any team or to any player. That's just cost us 2 points in the end, but we were so close to probably what would have been one of the best results of Dyche's tenure had we got over the line.
Yeah, and just before we talk about the final thoughts on the game and how happy we are with it, just for both of you, who do you think played the best and who could have had a better game?
Man of the match.
Go on, Paul. You sure, Paul?
Yeah, go
on. I mean, probably all told with the goal as well, and the fact that it's been at the end of quite a few a run of good matches. Really, I'd probably give Mykolenko man of the match. But that said, I think a lot of the players could have won it. I thought Tarkowski really showed really been starting to show his leadership at the back the last few weeks, and I thought he was just blocking everything and really leading by example really. So I thought he had probably one of his better games this season for us as well. And then I thought the Corey had a really good first half as well, and similarly Calvert-Lewin, who's just been the whole time really this season, like since he came back in, and is looking fully fit and like better than ever really, I'd say. Winning pretty much every header like that Pickford like threw his way or whatever, and yeah, like I say, I think it was just a really positive performance all around. I agree with Paul about Jack Harrison. Still not completely convinced by him yet. I think we could probably do with a right-sided right winger, similar to what we have with McNeil on the left. And I don't know, Harrison just seems maybe to make the wrong decisions too often and stuff. And that final pass just doesn't come off a lot of the time. So I thought maybe he could have had a better game. But like I say, it was a really solid performance all around, really, from everybody.
yeah, for me, the man of the match was definitely Michaelenko. Again, I've been a big critic of his, and I'm still a skeptic of his in terms of I don't think he's the long term answer for Everton. If Everton want to kind of get back into being a top half side again and push on for things, then I'm not entirely convinced Michaelenko is a player who should be an absolute nailed on starter. But when he does well, you've got to hold your hands up and say he did well, and he's been doing very well the last few weeks. And if he carries it on, then he's just going to prove me and everyone else wrong, isn't he? Hopefully. So he was definitely the man of the match. But another player I'll pick out for me who really impressed was, I think, James Garner. Because I think he's really coming into his own as a midfielder now, and he'll be for me. He'll be one of those players where you think, by the end of this season, supporters will look at him and think, how did we get him from Manchester United with seemingly no competition? Because as far as I know he had that loan with Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest inquired to have him back on a permanent basis, but I think Ten Hag said no because he just got in the door and wanted to have a good look at him. But from what I remember, James Garner didn't seem to have a lot of suitors at the time that Everton went in for him. Nottingham Forest had moved on, and I don't think any other teams had, made any made their interests, tangible and sent something big for him. I think James Garner is a really smart footballer. He's not blessed, physically with, he can't play an exquisite 20-yard pass like some of these Champions League centre midfielders that you see. At least not yet. He's still young. He could develop. But I think he's a really important cog in Everton's machine now, and he reminds me a lot of James McCarthy. When he came into the team under Roberto Martinez, a lot of what he does isn't flashy, but it's so important. And when he's not in the team, it leaves a big gaping hole that supporters didn't think would be there beforehand, but then they noticed during the game. So I think James Garner is very quickly becoming one of Everton's most sort of leaned on players, and I'm really glad that we've got him. And if he keeps going the way I hope he's going to keep going, then I think he's going to be a stalwart in Everton's team for many years. So yeah, I was impressed with James Garner.
And just before we finish, just from both of you, was it 1 point gained or 2 points dropped?
I'm going to say 1 point gained. I'm going to lean on the positivity side, I think, because we've dropped a lot of points already this season that we probably shouldn't have done. And you look at that fixture list at the start of the season, and we're probably getting more points in the games that you'd be kind of almost writing off really as ones where we're going to struggle in, and losing points in the other side of things. So I guess by that logic, you could say that a win would have been enormous, but like I say, you've got to look at it from before the game, and I think a lot of Evertonians interviewed said to them before the match, like, would you take a point? Then most of them would have said yes. So I think in that sense of the word, like, every point is still crucial to us at this moment in time. Like, we're starting to pull away a tiny bit, but with what could be happening with this point deduction or whatever, and the fact that this form could turn at any point if injuries or whatever. So like I say, every point's important at the moment. So, and against a team like Brighton, I think it's a decent result.
100% a point gained. I know it's frustrating to concede so late like that, and 2 points would have put us, miles away from that dreaded bottom three. And you couple that with the fact that we haven't picked up as many points as we should have this season at home so far. But you've got to compare this game to the same fixture last season, where Brighton just humiliated us, absolutely mullered us. It was like one of these dreaded performances that we had at Anfield under the likes of Martinez, under the likes of who's the other manager, Lampard. It was really that level of bad where you just think, what, I can't wait for the whistle to blow here. On these players, you can tell, just are desperate to get off the pitch. These players have got no stomach for the fight. These players just don't even belong on the same pitch as some of these Brighton players. That's how bad this fixture was for us last season, and we've come so far. You can't deny that when you look at this performance compared to that. We controlled the game. Brighton came away from this fixture, so relieved. Zerbi would have been absolutely panicking with 10 minutes to go with them 1-0 down, and Brighton not creating anything compared to last season, where he probably sat there laughing his head off on the bench as he watched his team just pick us apart in a canter. So it's 100% a point gained, and it's a step in the right direction, and it gives, you know, Sean Dyche something to puff his chest out about, I think, and it gives his supporters, the fans who are behind him, and there definitely are some of them. My brother's one of them, who think that he's, you know, definitely the answer to all of Everton's problems. It gives them the opportunity to gloat a little bit. I'm still, you know, not fully convinced by Dyche, but I have to hold my hands up and say that was a really good performance from him. And if we get more performances like that, then Everton are going to be in a good place going forward.
Brilliant, thanks guys. Make sure you leave your comments down below. Do you think it was a point gained or 2 points dropped? Do you think the subs could have come on earlier? Leave your man of the matches in the comments. Make sure you like and share the video. And thank you for watching.